time so that he can properly be relied upon to steal Barons. I think that's very important.
I like it. The tech angle.
Yep.
To strike the fear in the heart of T1. Don't think we're actually going to see that.
Yeah.
I've got to be honest, you know, I gave it some thought.
There was a time where we saw supports taking the Unsealed Spellbook, but it is not this day. As we're going to have a look at the teamfight composition here from T1. So much setup CC, as well as all of that damage that will be provided by the Azir and the Kennen mostly, but Viego and Ashe also going to be very dangerous, especially if they get going. And here we've got a pretty sandboxy dive composition that I think all of us have become very used to.
It's no shocker at all. And both these teams going into, honestly, their preferred style. I think, if anything, T1's comp is a little less early aggro than we've seen them draft recently, which I honestly love. I think that it's been something that T1 has been opting into a little bit too readily, and I think that this composition, while still providing you with avenues in the mid game, Leona Ashe can obviously lock down targets very well. You can snowball objective fights with a Viego with a single good cannon ult, and the setup is there. When you add Faker in as well, but there's still ample scaling, right? And yeah, I don't love playing Kalista.
This is not great, as Teddy, of course, with a Frost Shot, going to be very happy. Even manages to get the ward down. There's the flash. The follow flash comes through, and Teddy, welcome back to the main roster. First blood solo kill. Finds him, and there's just nowhere to walk.
Gonna let that one sink in. That's not what you want. That is...
Unless you're a T1 fan, in which case you're pretty psyched about the whole situation.
No, as a T1 fan, that's great. And as Teddy, that is something you're going to be extraordinarily happy about. But it's also something that obviously, like, that should never, ever be allowed to happen.
Absolutely.
I was about to go into, you know, on an even footing, why is the Kalista such a nuisance, or the Ashe rather such a nuisance to the Kalista as...
이거 쭉 가도 되나 이거? 쭉 가도 되나? 이거 무빙조 해줘. 이거 무빙조 해줘. 무빙조 해줘. 땄어 이거 땄어 이거 땄어. 나이스. 네이스. Yeah, 캐리. 나 이거 롱토드랑 핑하 할 수 있다.
You guys heard that one. You just said yeah, carry.
It's Ashe level 1. It's one of the strongest.
All right, there's an exhaust.
Oh my god.
There's no cleanse for Teddy, so he couldn't do that, much like Prince did. However, that is 2 summoner spells. And yeah, like you were saying, Ashe level 1 plus an extra longsword. Oh dear.
No, it's especially into an Alistair that isn't a champion level 1, right? Like, and yeah, Leona prefers having level 2 as well, but Ashe is so powerful in that early level with volley and a frost shot that normally this is a rough lane to play out. But when you're behind this early on, when Prince is forced to use all his summoners that early, flashes, still gets killed, it is just a disastrous start. And this comes to mind considering the fact that Prince is also a player that we know to be emotional, right? He played against T1 in their first, in round 1, got emotional afterwards, and it's understandable considering the drive that we've seen this player exhibit ever since he came in very late in round 1. Or rather in spring.
Yep.
And to start off like this is also, as you pointed, it's a warm welcome. It's like, welcome back, Teddy. You get a free longsword for your lane, and this lane is impressive enough as is, and Croco's pathing away, right? Because what you gonna do? You're a Diana pre-6, you just don't have that much pressure available. If there is a counter gank, you're in even deeper trouble.
Yeah, and it was level 1 Alistair that was trying to help, and you know, definitely not the most powerful level 1 champion in the game, and Keria had already found exactly where he was. The setup was pretty nice there from T1. Not going to net them too much of an advantage just yet, but you can already feel the effects of just how much more powerful Teddy has become. Even Faker just completely zoning Fate away, actually laning very nicely here, taking off half of his health bar in exchange for 0 of his own. And that is going to be Rift Scuttler taken on the bottom side by the bottom lane of T1, and Ona did secure the top side one. So Diana not being able to extend her lead as Ona looking for a bit of a dive here onto Summit. Only half a Naba. This is going to be dangerous. Puts down the mist, and Summit does flash away. So flash comes through, and T1 didn't have to invest anything other than the position of their jungler.
You get the Wave of Summit, but being down a summoner is going to make you very susceptible to games later on when Kana has his ultimate available, either through roams or through just Kana's pressure. Considering that in Minina you are just kind of a sitting duck, so there as well, the Boomerang not hitting Summon, not having enough power available to get into that Mega early on. And I was a little bit worried, you know, I saw the Teddy swap, and I don't think that this is, again, something that I've talked about a lot. It's not because a team plays a specific way with a player that you can blame the player for the playstyle. But I was really happy to see T1 play very proactive. And Teddy got first blood a minute and a half in, not even, a minute in. And they've already dove topside, and we're 5 minutes in. So T1, clearly, not showing, slowing down rather, and then as Live Sandbox, that is something that you're going to have to adequately deal with, and Effort is attempting to do so. But as pointed out, teams have caught on a little bit more.
No, it's exactly right. I think that there's no surprise that he's hanging around here and is going to be spotted as Faker just going to dive towards Fate there with his shifting sands. Does end up evening out the trade before he decides to get to work on these minions. Should be absolutely fine for both of these mid laners. Corrupting Potion eating through for both of them. One charge remaining on either side. As Carrier making his way through. Effort hot on his heels. Carrier just going to deliver some health and collect some money for himself. And Live Sandbox are just going to back away into the fog of war. Croco is up here towards the top side. Maybe not the opportune time for Kana to make his way in, but he does have a ward just south of him. So he should be okay. Actually kiting around the other side as there's the slicing Maelstrom. Summon in so much trouble. The Nabar's almost up, but he needs one more auto. And now Croco getting chased down. This cannon is so powerful. Mark of the Storm's going to work out as Faker not going to go for the ult. As Ona now diving on forward. Fate is going to get stunned up, but is going to be able to push them away as Summit going to get some flashes, but doesn't invest the ulti himself. Some very low health bars on both sides. But no one to go down just yet is now Teddy chasing Effort. Level 5 for the Ashe doesn't quite have the Enchanted Crystal Arrow just yet.
And key thing there is no Moonfall available. If Croco has that ultimate, that fight can get turned around very, very quickly. Appropriate response from both teams, immediately calling for reinforcements. And if Summit was in a little bit of a better spot in that lane, then you might be able to actually keep Kana in a little bit longer. And then that counter gank or the gank rather might work. Nice response by Owner as well. And it ties into what we've been expecting. No attention paid to the bot lane at all from either jungler. It's about the top lane, trying to get either Summit or Kana ahead.
Yeah, and I think both of these players require a lot of attention on both sides. I think Summit, not necessarily for anything to do with this play, I think he is a very oppressive top laner just in general, but if you have Summit with a very good game to start things off, generally you're feeling pretty good, because you mentioned emotional players. Summit's certainly one of those and can play with momentum very effectively, but we've seen Kana, when he does have that jungle support, he can also utilize advantages very, very well. But often his weak side has drawn a little bit of criticism, one could say.
And it's something that has been improving, I think, over the last couple of weeks. Kana has looked better and better. Still, I don't think not anywhere near the performance of players that we've seen, like Khan comes to mind. Keen, even though, obviously, having some lesser moments yesterday, but large and about still one of the main carries for that Africa roster.
Yep.
At the same time, especially when Kana is on comfort, and this cannon now clearly added to that list as well, he has shown how to handle himself in team fights, and this is a setup that is being looked for 5 versus 5.
Yeah, all of Live Sandbox still waiting on the wings, but the eye's going to get poked of Shelly, and she's down very low already. Croco pretty far away from this one. Moonfall in hand. There's the smite. Is Carrier going to move on forward? The arrow will connect, and there's no... Oh my goodness! Into the backline goes the cannon. The lightning is cutting them down. The Emperor's Divide's beautiful. The wombo combo, amazing from T1 as Fate will have to flash away. Summit in trouble as well, and the flashes to follow Fate will mean that he can't get out, and Teddy claims another.
And that's a disastrous turn for Live Sandbox, and honestly, a beautiful play by Kana. And this goes back to... Faker?
Yeah, Faker in trouble here as Summit looking to try and lock him down. He will be able to do so. So, Summit getting some revenge here on the Emperor of Shurima on the top side.
Oh, Croco.
Yeah, okay. let's be a little bit careful here. We remember how the first game of our previous series went.
Yes. Yeah, as you pointed out, no need to get overexcited, but this is really nice considering T1, the match that they lost with a same fight like this against Hanwha, where the flank wasn't enough, right? Where Kana couldn't find the angle. But here, it's beautiful. You know, the setup is great. He flashes over the wall, sets it up for the rest of his team. Again, Teddy clearly showing that he has come to play the video game. Hasn't in a while.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's been taking a holiday and clearly feeling very refreshed. As just not respecting Summit. No, this is what you get as Faker. Nice cancel there by Summit as well. Gets him mid shuffle. And it's not something that is going to turn a disastrous play into something less disastrous. It's okay. You know, it's nice. It makes you feel a little bit less bad, but a Teddy that is already this fed. Also, we didn't really get into this, but this T1 composition, I think, can also run into a pretty strong mid-game low if they don't find early pressure. Because while Kana's burst is nice and Faker later in the game will do a lot of damage, the Ashe is not known for providing a lot of damage, right? We see a lot of jokes about it, and I think that while the shield bow builds, especially in a situation like this, are going to feel so oppressive because Teddy's going to hit that and he's not going to die. But I assure you, he will do damage because he's so far ahead of the curve.
Yeah, this is the thing. I feel like Ashe she's become sort of this meta's Caitlyn, if that makes sense, you know? Hits that trough, but if you do just get ridiculously ahead in the early game, like, it doesn't matter which champion you are, right? If you've got an auto attack and a big bunch of items, you're going to feel absolutely fantastic regardless. So certainly mitigating a whole lot of those trough effects, if you will. 3-0-2, 100% kill contribution, definitely very, very scary. And T1 going to take the first Drake as well as the tempo advantage. I mean, they've kept it since the level 1, and even though Faker gets killed on the top side of the map, it hasn't really altered the game state in one bit. There's now Effort chasing after, does get the flash forward as there's the Moonfall from Croco. Teddy going down very, very low as Faker is in position. Teddy still alive for now as the culling comes through, but Fate can't walk through the wall, and Teddy, he's out of there. Now the rest of T1 trying to survive Emperor's Divide. Not necessarily working fantastically, but Effort will eventually go down. And Teddy, he's still alive somehow, wandering up through the forest, as now Kana trying to get out of this one. He is going to get smashed down there by Summit with the wallop. His owner is going to flash after him. There's the stun, there's the kill, and the possession will come through afterwards, and owner gets revenge.
And it's a nice attempt at Live Sandbox. I get what they want to do, try and retake control of this map, right? And this is exactly the type of explosive gameplay that we've grown to love this team. However, it doesn't work because T1 is more than ready for it, right? And it's something that Live Sandbox have relied on for this entire split. But the fact that Teddy gets away there is so big, it means that Prince doesn't get his rent resets, isn't able to get a lot more done as Effort is.
Oh dear. Yeah, Effort could be in trouble here. Doesn't have his Unbreakable Will. There's the exhaust. They do back away. Teddy actually getting out of there. Will give the kill over to owner potentially, but no, Effort is just given a way out. Nope, the stun comes through, and he is going to die. I find it interesting that Teddy's like, no, there's a minion wave, everyone. I'm going to place down the Rift Herald, and we're going to grab this turret and a bunch of extra plate gold. They do exactly that. Fate and Croco should be able to clear out the wave. Faker taking some plates here on the bottom side, though, and T1, it feels like they just have an extra champion in this game.
It's insane. And it's something that I think T1 has done better than any team, barring maybe them one. They're so good at not only making plays themselves around the map, but also baiting their opponent into making plays when they're strong, right? The reason why you just see Teddy go like, okay, they got him, they got the LSB, I don't care, I can walk up to mid lane, is because he's so incredibly powerful at this point in time, and he just wants to shove, right?
Yeah.
And while this is happening, Faker's also doing the same thing, and you can see that they're aware that this is happening. When they see Effort run in for as long as he does, they know he's coming. Croco dies relatively quickly in the fight. Prince not able to actually find Teddy, and then you just have a bunch of low health bars. Fate doesn't have the effective range, throws his calling, which is nice, but doesn't get enough done. And again, Summit trying his very best to salvage a tough situation, picks up a kill, but then goes down himself as well. And this is also the type of situations where a Viego gets so much value. It's not even like it's owner winning these fights.
No.
But you know that the moment someone on your team dies, winning them becomes almost impossible.
This is where a win more champion like Viego looks really broken.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, you win more, right? And they're already in such a great position, and Viego will only help solidify that. As T1 looking to try and steal away a red buff. Looks like they will be able to, especially with all the vision that they have available. Keria moving down to get rid of this one. Troll Ward comes on through, and Owner is going to smite that one away. So Croco, once again, getting starved out. And how many times do you see, you know, mid-game Diana not having very much farm? It's in games like this, where things can be very difficult from the beginning. That is certainly not going to bode well here for Liv Sandbox, as Shirley also going to get taken down. The T1 monopoly on neutral objectives will continue.
And I think that while that's rubbing a little bit of salt in the wounds, this is an appropriate punish to come through for Liv Sandbox. Picking the Kalista, knowing the Ashe is open, yes, it's great comfort for Prince. Yes, you've had some great moments on it. But one, you know that this is a counter pick that is just incredibly strong on so many levels. You outrange, the slow is just a nuisance to play into the Kalista, especially when combined with an exhaust from Keria as well. You barely get to play the game. And then Prince also gets killed level 1. You know, there's more pressure that they can reliably deal with on the entirety of the map regardless. And for Liv Sandbox, I think from this point, you're 4K behind. You're going to lose the next Drake as well. No way with the spikes that T1 have hit that you're going to be able to contest. You're looking at maybe a third one or some random catch in between fights. But outside of that, T1 is just saying, well, look what we got. What do you have? And the answer is Prince doesn't even have a mythic.
Yeah.
So I don't think you can fight here. You might try a Sandbox and you still have your wombo comp because it is Sandbox after all.
Yep, welcome to give it a crack. And to be perfectly honest, it's not not like things get better as the game goes on. You know, it's not like Liv Sandbox is going to have an out as far as scaling or something like that. It's like, yes, you know, the dive will still be possible later in the game, but if you don't have the damage to back it up, you'll never blow up any of the members of T1, and then they'll just roll over the top of you. Because if you dive on top of Ken and Azir, I mean, what do you expect to happen?
Yeah, when they're fed, it's hard enough as is. And if you have a lead, then you can legit 100-0 them in your initial combo, and that never really becomes a problem. And that is something that could have happened to T1, right? Had Liv Sandbox not fallen behind as early and as much as they did, I think that this comp from Liv Sandbox can snowball incredibly well. There's so many ways to play very aggressively forward, and even at minor leads, you should still be fine. As is a nice cleanse there from Prince, but like, what does it get you? And unfortunately, the answer is nothing. It's just a lost summoner.
Well, maybe an arrow to the face, because now without that cleanse, it's going to be very difficult for Prince to survive. Is Shirley going to make a visit here to the mid lane? 17 minutes onto the clock. This should be this turret falling down pretty comfortably, as Owner is just going to continue eradicating Croco's jungle of anything that can give Croco money. As the arrow, not going to connect there. Croco going to be able to use his dash cannon to get himself out of the way. As Shirley gets another charge. Zoning arrow to come through there, I guess you could say. As this tower, not long for the world. As they are just going to stick around and take that one down. So 2 turrets very swiftly here for T1. And the gold is only ballooning further. Close to a 6,000 gold lead before 20 minutes into this game.
If your aim is wide enough, every arrow is a zoning arrow, you know? You just gotta broaden your perspective. And that one, we joke about it, but it did actually create some space, make sure that Shelly got the charge in. And the issue that you have now as Liv Sandbox is you've lost every semblance of map control, and you can always talk about the dream combo. All right, effort goes in, he finds 3-man knock up, and then Diana follows up with a moonfall, Summit smash him. And that's nice, but if you have full vision, which T1 honestly should have in the current game state, that's very unlikely to happen. And even if you start by Baron as T1, which I think they can, they don't actually need to take the Baron. They just need to force Liv Sandbox to come into them. There's 6k gold and 2 Drakes up. You just force them to walk into you, and then either they try, you're aware, and then you have all your ultimates ready, right? A defensive slicing Maelstrom, Faker with a shuffle to split up the fight. Teddy is almost has a wit's end as well, and he is both a summoners, so that's horrible. Or you just re-engage on them, because your engage is also insane.
Well, now, Teddy very close to having his ult back up. Keria's got his, lands it pretty nicely there onto Prince. Now the counter engage to come through as Keria suffers only half of his health bar, but decides he wants to go back in again. Flashes away. Prince is going to keep himself alive as Teddy off to the side will get face cold for the knock-up. The arrow is going to connect, but it's onto Effort, who had his ulti, but I think the T1's wallets are just a little bit too heavy. As into the backline goes Canna and eviscerates the members of Liv Sandbox, still here standing, as Effort now just trying to clop his way towards the top side of the map, and Summit wasn't even here.
That's not okay, Oni. You can't both have Diana and Viego. That's not allowed.
Yeah.
And by the end of the fight, it doesn't even matter anymore. And my hat's off, because this game from Teddy it's insane. Like,
this is a big welcome back, isn't it?
Yeah. Because it's one thing to come in your you know, your re-entree game and do okay. Like, maybe you win lane, you get a 20 CS lead, you're like, okay, you know, T1 looking good, they're still playing the map, it's all. But no, that's not what is happening here. This is Teddy systematically gapping the bot lane, starting at literally level 1, and then look here as well, right? Because this is their bot lane just setting up. Like, this 3-man unit is showing exactly that. What I was afraid of for T1 in this game 1, not happening. Teddy? He doesn't care. He's healing forward aggressively into 4 people, Atlas.
No, he was avoiding the culling by moving towards Fate and shooting him. Worked out pretty well.
Just murdered him.
I know, it's ridiculous.
And then,
yeah, let's have a look at Ono one
알리
more
볼게
time.
알리. 다이애나. 볼만해? 잡았어.
Just like that, by the way, everyone.
that's not okay. So in case you missed it, what happened? Like, not only he got Croco, which is fine, but then he used Moonfall or QE on the minion wave, and then he also had Croco's Proto Belt, because why not? That's a thing the champion does.
Yeah, that's the thing you can do. You can dash cannon yourself if they bought one. You steal all their stuff as well as their buttons. It's not very fair.
And of course, the absurd thing about this game is that it doesn't really matter which jungler you have there, right? Because that fight was won before that. It is, again, the decisiveness from T1, something that they've shown a lot of games, but they've also lacked, especially at the beginning of the split when they were playing with Teddy. But none of that is to be found here. And for Liv Sandbox, I think mentally this game, you're already checked out. You're thinking about the next one. How can we maybe change up our draft? Because that is something that, especially in the best of 5, even more so than in the best of 3 scenario, needs to happen. You can't draft this same type of comp.
Oh, Arrow will connect there onto Fate. There's the chain CC and an extraordinarily dead Lucian, and now Owner has decided that he wants to be the champion. Prince going to be taken down as well. The possessions will continue. It's a possession procession here in the mid lane as T1 will move over to the Baron. As T1, I apologize for that. That was not great. Starting off strong here, Chronicler, don't you worry, as the Baron is now going to be under fire. T1 wanting to use this to finish off the game.
I was going to give you some positive feedback. I actually loved it, but you didn't even give me the opportunity. You had to take that away from me, like this Baron is getting taken away from Liv Sandbox. T1 take everything. And there's scenarios where trading a Dragon for Baron, rather, for a Drake is not worth it. When it's Soul Point, you know, it's kind of that gray area. When it's Drake #1 for your opponent,
oh yeah, who cares?
easy peasy.
Feeling very good about that one. Teddy from the Fog of War, no way for Fate to avoid that. And this is just what Viego does when he's fed, right? Like, oh man. Very dangerous. His effort, you know, from the dead Callista is going to make his great escape with the Fate's Call. But now it's a Baron that's encircling T1. And they will look to break open the base here once again. They have taken down the mid lane inhibitor turret. They did not take the inhibitor. But now they should be able to crush whichever structure they decide to take.
And as mentioned previously, especially when the sums are up, T1 can afford to move in this far because they have so many anti-dive tools. I say as carrier is about to face check, knowing full well that everyone is there. Because he had the scanner up. But look at this control. There is no opportunity for a flank from Summit, you know, like a Mega Gnaw opportunity. Everything that you try to do here as Liv Sandbox will be telegraphed, and that makes it so much harder to find these type of clutch, we need to get a miracle, we're 10k gold town type of plays. And it's something like, if T1 doesn't allow it to happen, which currently they're clearly not.
Oh, look at Faker here just holding this siege minion in Baron form, just smacking down that turret, and that pressure will not abate. I love that T1 just cheating between the top and mid turrets, or top and mid lanes, to make sure that Liv Sandbox will always be spread too thin, and they will always have the inside track to get towards these areas. It's a really great play. The arrow is going to fly majestically towards the Nexus. Unfortunately, you don't do damage to the Nexus with your arrow, just soaring through past its turrets. But I liked the attempt. Here's a flash forward though, not going to find the stun, as Owner's going to get headbutted out of there. Carrier now possibly in trouble as the Emperor's Divide lands onto so many, and into the backline goes Canna Summit, looking for Teddy, but now he has to get out of the way. Teddy flashes after him, the wallop comes through, but Teddy Oh, he's going to fall in the end. Avoids the boulder, but can't avoid the massive auto attacks here of the Gnar. Meanwhile, the rest of T1 will mop the floor with Liv Sandbox. So it was all a cunning ruse in the end. And now, with this Baron buff and multiple siege minions, they're looking to try and break these Nexus turrets. It's only Summit and Croco left available. No Moonfall, no Gnar available either. It looks like it is just going to be both of the Nexus turrets and T1 backing away.
Well, Teddy makes his first mistake of the game. It prevents them from ending. It shouldn't have a bigger impact on this game as a whole. But yeah, if you have Ashe there, I can assure you that end is very much within reach. Taking on Summit there, very successful endeavor. Flashing after him over the wall, probably not quite the right call, but I think...
Sometimes you're just feeling it, Chronicler, you know? You had those moments before where you're just feeling it. I'm feeling the flash. Into melee range against Mega Gnar as Ashe. This is going to be the best move. But this follow-up, this answer to all of the pressure that was put onto Keria, really beautifully done, as Ono just happily underneath some Nexus turrets. Meanwhile, this was a little bit of an issue.
It's not going to prevent me from voting for POG for it, but it should, because you should not do this, Teddy. And he knows.
They'd won the game prior, so I guess maybe this isn't as important, but I agree with you. This was a big whoopsie. He just wandered into the scoop and said, yeah, I'm happy to tank all of the damage, and you're just not going to be able to do enough to me. But as it turned out, Summit was capable of doing enough.
It's not going to matter, and as a Liv Sandbox fan, at least Summit played well. That's about as much as you can take away from this, because outside of that, this has just been a straight-up outclassing in this first game from T1. And it's early, it's just everything. The early control, the fights, the skirmishes, the reads on Liv Sandbox.
I think like the Ashe lane into Kalista is already way too hard for Kalista, but if you give your opponent an early longsword by dying against your opposition,
and having no
it
flash.
Skews the game so extraordinarily far, as now we're going to have possibly the final fight. As there's the Emperor's Divide to get rid of Effort. He's thrown away Fate's Call. Will keep him alive, but it's not going to work out for Croco, as Canna with his Slicing Maelstrom moving towards him doesn't really do too much with it. However, stops anyone from being able to attack T1. There is no defense for this Nexus, and T1 will obliterate Liv Sandbox in game 1 of this best of 5.
We even see the flash.